Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? It is your boy B New coming at you this morning, fresh off a Lakers victory from last night. So I know that was a very welcome sight to Lakers Nation and everybody who's been pulling for the Lakers and pulling for LeBron James. That was a welcome sight, and if you were smart like me, you would have took some money and took a bet for the Lakers before the game, because I knew they was going to blow out Golden State just the same way as they blew out Golden State last time. The same way that they blew out Golden State last time, I knew it would happen again. And it's just because they don't match up very well against the Los Angeles Lakers. And when I view the landscape of the Western Conference, I can easily tell who matches up well against the Lakers and who doesn't when it's going to come to a playoff series. And I said it in the last video, or maybe the video before last. I think when I was watching the Phoenix Suns game, maybe last week sometimes, whoever they were playing, and I said the teams in the Western Conference now have the tier levels, and I know what these tier levels are for the season, because you got to, once you got the All-Star break, unless, the trade deadline is coming up, but and there's going to be maybe a couple trades or either a couple signings from some buyouts, just depending, what's going to happen. But at this point of the season, you are pretty much who you are. So as I view the landscape of the Western Conference, I can clearly see that the second tier of the Western Conference is the Phoenix Suns. And this is no disrespect. This is no disrespect to these teams. And, who knows? They can catch lightning in the bottle. Maybe they can catch lightning in the bottle and, go on a run and surprise some people in the playoffs. That has happened before. But I'm talking about who really have a high probability of actually going on to hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy. And these teams are not. And they are in the second tier of the Western Conference. And these teams are the Phoenix Suns, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Denver Nuggets, and the Utah Jazz. Now, these are four good teams that I think could easily go walk through the Eastern Conference. And if they were to play any team except for the Brooklyn Nets, or maybe even Philadelphia, in the Eastern Conference, then they would have no trouble in winning, because that's how good these teams are. But they are the second tier of the Western Conference. They are the second tier. But there's the first tier. And the first tier is a very small tier. There is a first tier of the Western Conference. And I said it in the last video. And I said it after watching the game, even after I watched Phoenix. And I know Phoenix is beating people handily. And I'm not disrespecting Phoenix. But when it comes down to a series, things change up a lot. So this video is not about Phoenix Suns. I'm not trying to get off subject. But I just want to point out that that first tier of teams is the two teams that reside in LA. And those teams are the Los Angeles Lakers and the LA Clippers, because those are the only two teams that's going to come out of the Western Conference. And they have the chance, to me, of coming out of the Western Conference. But if I had to predict right now, then it's all about matchups in the NBA. So if the Clippers end up matched up with Denver, they're going to be wanting to lick their chops and get their revenge. But I just got a feeling if the Clippers match up against Denver, then they're going to end up losing. Even though they did add Ibaka, I just don't think it'll be a favorable matchup for them. But that's something we can look at a long time from now. And then the Lakers may not even have to face them again. But at the end of the day, I still pick the Lakers coming out of the Western Conference. And like I told y'all, look at what the Lakers are doing without Anthony Davis. So everybody want to say that Anthony Davis, LeBron James cannot carry a team. LeBron James doesn't need MVP. But just take a look at what he's doing. Like, once again last night, he was 30 seconds short of playing a 29-minute game in another blowout against the Golden State Warriors, who are a formidable team, because look what Golden State just did to Utah the day before that. And that's why I put money on the game, because I saw the Lakers had 2 days of rest and Golden State was playing on the second night of a back-to-back. So we'll see how the Lakers play tonight against Minnesota on the second night of a back-to-back. But I still would pick LA to win this game, even though the matchup is not favorable to them, with missing Anthony Davis and Marc Gasol missing his last game due to COVID and tracing and all that. So at the end of the day, I still picked the Lakers to win tonight. But let's just more so focus on what LeBron James did last night when he put his stamp on the game yet again. LeBron James wanted to come out and get everybody involved, and that's what he did. In the first half, he only took 6 shots, but he was like 4 out of 6. So he was shooting it at a pretty good clip. But the main thing is he just keeps feeding his teammates, and not just feeding them the ball, but feeding them the confidence that he needs. Because when LeBron James was asked, was the Lakers good enough to compete with anybody, it was a resounding yes, and he wasn't just blowing smoke up your ass. He was telling the truth. And they proved that last night, but that's because the role players got to step up. And even without Alex Caruso, it was a welcoming sight to see KCP last night shoot the ball, 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 7 or whatever it was. It was at a high clip. It was over 60%, and he made, I want to say, 3 out of 4 of his threes. So if he can finally get out of the slump that he's been in, such a terrible slump, especially shooting the 3 ball, then the Lakers are going to be just fine. Because everybody said the Lakers need a wing, the Lakers need a wing. Well, KCP is a wing. And KCP has experience in the playoffs and was a big part of their ring last year because he stepped up in key situations and key moments. And the thing about KCP is, unlike Wesley Matthews, even though Wesley Matthews finally hit a 3 last night, he hit that first one, but after that he didn't hit another. So with that being said, I know it's going to be pretty hard to get rid of Wes Matthews because nobody's going to want him. He has absolutely no trade value at all. So at this point in the season, you're probably going to be stuck with him at this point, unless you can just throw him in to another package if you can pull off a great trade, like if you can go out and get the likes of a Victor Oladipo. But at this point in the season, I just don't think the Lakers are going to try to shake it up too much. They're not going to try to shake it up too much with any trades, because if that was the case, they would have traded for Drummond. But see, let me tell y'all something. I'm gonna let y'all know in on some very inside information. And when I say inside information, it's not like I got any inside sources. It's just that my brain is not smooth like a lot of people's. And you know, whether y'all know it or not, I'm a businessman. And I'm not just a businessman. I'm damn near the businessman. You get it? But now, if you really just pay attention, then you will see that the Cleveland Cavaliers could have, you know, they're obviously not going to use the services of Andre Drummond. So they could easily let him walk now and buy him out his contract, but they haven't. They're waiting until the trade deadline. Why? Why would they be waiting until the trade deadline? And I see a lot of smooth brain people all across Twitter and the internet. Oh man, the Cavs doing Drummond so dirty. The Cavs doing Drummond so dirty. But when the players do this and this and that, man, listen, man, if you're not smart, then don't speak on it. Or at least get yourself halfway educated on it. Because the Cavs not playing Drummond, maybe because they heard what Draymond Green said. But at the end of the day, Drummond doesn't want to be there, and they both mutually decided that he's not going to be there and he's not in their plans for the future. He's on an expiring contract where he's owed $23 million. Well, they want to trade him, but nobody wants to take on that salary. Nobody wants to take on that salary for them. The Lakers might want to take on the salary for them, but they're not going to be willing to give up anybody that can be exchanged for that salary. Who would the Lakers give up for Drummond? Who would the Nets give up for Drummond? Harden? No. Kyrie? No. These players that's making over $30 million a year. So if Drummond making 25, then you got to have room under your cap. You have to have room under your cap. And if you don't, then you're not going to be, are you going to have to make trades? And who are you willing to give up? So my inside information is from my wrinkled brain is telling me that at the Lakers, as bad as they need Drummond, and I hear, now this is from relevant sources, if you pay attention and you follow the appropriate sources and read the appropriate sources, I hear that Cleveland really only wants a couple second-round draft picks. A couple second-round draft picks, they'll be willing to part with them and throw in another player. They'll be willing to part with them. So the Lakers could do that. The Lakers could do that, but they haven't. And why haven't they? Why haven't they? Because they know that contract is going to be bought out by Cleveland. And once Cleveland buys out that contract, then he's going to be free to sign wherever he wants. Because let's say they owe him $25 million. who knows what they might buy him out for. They might say, well, look, man, we give you $15 million right now up front. You can go. Who wouldn't take it? Or they might say, we give you 13. He might take that. Okay, I'll take the 13 million. I'm out. Now I get to go compete for a championship. I'll go sign with the Lakers for $1 million. So now, if you notice, the Lakers still had a Quinn Cook roster spot available. And if the Quinn Cook roster spot is available, then that's a place that he could potentially sign. And I'm not saying that he won't sign with Brooklyn, but at the end of the day, everybody want to come to La La Land, man. If you ever been to LA, and I've been to LA and I've been to New York, and I'm not knocking New York because I got nothing but love for New York from all the boroughs. But, man, come on. This is sunshiny California with the legal, you know what I mean? Like, this is LA. So I wouldn't pass up on that, but I'm not just saying just for LA, but the chance to come play with LeBron James. Because Andre Drummond, he's seen what centers do with LeBron James. They catch a lot of lobs. JaVale McGee catches a lot of lobs. JaVale McGee, he saw what Dwight Howard was doing, and he knows he could probably be very successful with LA, and he probably would send Marc Gasol to the bench. More than likely, he would send Marc Gasol to the bench, and he would become the starter, and that's something that he would like, and to be a starter on a team that's contributing. Or he may just get Marc Gasol, even if Marc Gasol remains a starter with all the minutes that Marc Gasol plays. He doesn't even play but maybe 24 minutes a game. So then he knows that he can get a lot of minutes too, especially depending on just the rotations and how Vogel's going to do it. So mark my words. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I'm about 95% sure that Drummond will be a Laker within the next couple weeks. I'm about 95% sure of that, just because the Lakers didn't trade for him. Well, I think they could have traded, but they want to hold on to THT. And the thing about it is, if I were them, I would maybe dangle THT out there as a trade piece. The only reason because THT is going to be a restricted free agent. He's not unrestricted to go anywhere he wants, but he can look at other offers from other teams. And if another team offers him more money, then the Lakers don't match it, which the Lakers probably won't be able to match it because where they are with their cap situation, they won't be able to match it, and then you end up losing them anyway. So you may want to go ahead and trade him, and then you can at least get something back for him, you know. Maybe you could get Drummond and swap these salaries, but at the end of the day, you know, THT is Clutch Sports. KCP is Clutch Sports. LeBron James and AD are all Clutch Sports. So who knows what goes on? Who knows what goes on behind closed doors when they're talking contracts and negotiations and things of that nature. But my speculation is that Andre Drummond will be in the purple and gold. So that's just my speculation. So anyway, back to the game of what LeBron James was doing to put his imprint on the game last night. Once again, another triple-double, 22 rebounds, 12 assists. 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 12 assists. And then Kyle Kuzma, if Kyle Kuzma can stay consistent the way he's playing consistent now, and I think it is Kyle Kuzma's best role is to come off the bench, because when he comes off the bench, he's normally going against the second unit of other teams. And I think that gives him confidence. And then as he gets rotated more throughout the game and starts to play some of the starters, then he just starts to, he plays just a little bit more and then confident, and he starts to hit a lot of shots. But if he can consistently keep hitting the three like he's been hitting the three the past couple games, the Lakers, nobody going to beat them. And they said Anthony Davis is going to be out. They said it's supposed to have been another 2 weeks, but now they're saying another 3 weeks. So that's what they're saying. But if Anthony Davis comes back healthy in the playoffs, it's not like he has to learn their offense. He knows their offense. It's not like he has to learn their defensive scheme. He knows their defensive scheme. It would just send Markieff Morris to the bench where he belongs. And that's going to make Anthony Davis better. But with Markieff Morris having all this extra playing time, that's only going to build his confidence when he comes into the game going against the other team's second unit. And think about it, the Lakers are number one in defense right now without Anthony Davis. If the Lakers are number one in defense right now without Anthony Davis, imagine what they're going to do when Anthony Davis comes back. So let Anthony Davis get all the rest he can, because the Lakers are still in the number 3 spot and only 1 game behind the Phoenix Suns. And guess who they play Sunday night? Guess who the Lakers play Sunday night? They play the Phoenix Suns. And this is what I'm trying to tell y'all. They will. As long as Schroeder and Gasol are playing, mark my words right now, they will beat the Phoenix Suns. And they're not just going to beat them in a beatdown, and they're not going to beat them in a close game. But you heard it first right here from B-New. They're going to beat them probably every quarter. Maybe the third quarter they won't. But I'm thinking the first quarter they're going to come out and win. They're going to be ahead by 4 points. Then the second quarter they're going to beat them by another 4 points. Then they'll be up 8 at halftime. Then Phoenix may win the next quarter by only 2. So going into the fourth, the Lakers will only be up 6. And then you know what happens when the Lakers are up in the fourth quarter. You know what their record is. So at the end of the day, by Sunday, the Lakers will be at the number 2 spot. They will be at the number 2 spot. And just depending on how Utah plays, who knows, they may be at the number 1 spot. So let Anthony Davis get all the rest he needs. Because as long as KCP can play consistent and Kuzma can play consistent and Montrezl Harrell, let's talk about Montrezl Harrell. Man, I hate that he shot that 3 at the end of the quarter to mess up his percentages. Then he took a couple of more ill-fated shots because he actually could have shot 100% last night. He was getting so many easy feeds and dunks and just dominating inside the paint. I don't know if any of y'all heard about the tweet that he tweeted about a week or so ago, just saying he was ready to give up on everything, and it was just a cryptic tweet. He didn't really go into it, but I think it was in regards to his mom. You know, he had lost his mom. You know, his mom, maybe it was his grandma or whoever, but his mom too. I think he has lost his mom and his grandmother. So he's just in a dark place right now. And anybody out there that's been close to their grandma or their mother and you lose them, then that's pretty tough to go through. But what I did see was Jeannie Buss tweeting back to him, Trez, we here for you, baby. This is the Lakers family. It's not just a team, you know. This is the Lakers family, not just a team. And that's why I got love, admiration, and respect for the Lakers. Now the Grizzlies, you know, Tennessee, baby, that's my team. But I got love, admiration, and respect for this Lakers organization and how they treat players and just the way they take care of everybody, and how once you're a Laker, you always a Laker, and you stamped for life, you know, when you wear that purple and gold. So at the end of the day, everybody who was worried about the Lakers, I know they barely beat Indiana. They came out and smacked Golden State last night. They're going to beat Minnesota tonight. That's going to be a 3-game win streak. But the majority, I don't know if you all know this, but the majority of the Lakers' final games for the rest of the year, I want to say they got like 30 games left, and like 20 of those games are against Eastern Conference teams. And you might think, well, hey, that's easy because the Eastern Conference is weak. But when you're going against an uncommon opponent that you only play twice a year, it might not be the easiest thing to do to be able to come out victorious. But I think the Lakers will be able to do so. So the Lakers did their thing last night. Ramon James did his thing last night with Embiid going down for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Then you can rest assured that this MVP trophy is going to go to LeBron James. I mean, Jokic is right there too. So I'm not just going to automatically say that it is LeBron James. But at the end of the day, I think it would be a travesty of justice if LeBron James didn't come away with that MVP trophy. So let's just give it up for LeBron and what the Lakers are doing. The Clippers, they won last night impressively. So they're trying to get things back on track, and they headed for a collision course for the battle of LA in the playoffs, which is what everybody is waiting to see anyway. And Brooklyn, they did win last night. They was up handily against New York, but let New York hang around, and New York played excellent defense at the end of the game, and they almost could have pulled out a good upset. So I'm just going to keep an eye on Brooklyn. Brooklyn keeps racking up victories, but I mean, they're not really playing anybody. I mean, no disrespect to them, but Brooklyn did go on the road on their Western Conference swing, and I want to say went undefeated. So let's not take away from what Brooklyn, and a few of those games was without Kevin Durant, and a few of them was with them. So we know what Brooklyn is. They're an offensive juggernaut. But like I said, things change up a little bit in the playoffs, and I would love to see how Brooklyn will fare up against the likes of Philly. Because really, to me, Philly is the only team that can give them some kind of problems in the playoffs. Boston is not going to do it. just really nobody in the Eastern Conference is going to get them problems except for Philly because of Joel Embiid and because of Ben Simmons and how great they are on the defensive end and what Joel Embiid is capable of doing on the offensive end. And I just don't really think they have anybody who would be able to slow him down. So a lot of basketball left to be played. Really enjoying the season so far this year. Everybody, man, stop hating on LeBron James and just go ahead and respect his greatness and what he's doing because he's not going to be around forever. So instead of hating on it, enjoy it. And like I said, peace and much love to everybody. We sending positive vibes out to everybody. I don't know about y'all, but that time change really got me. Your boy been lagging and dragging, but I'm right back. So right on to the real. Much love to the haters. Always. I'm out.